They say King Von's baby mama is living off a dead man's money. A 4-bedroom house, a Benz in the driveway, designer everything, an MBA framed on the wall. The whole untouchable millionaire lifestyle. And according to her comment section, every single dollar of it came from King Von. It's the kind of story that writes itself. Poor girl meets rapper, rapper dies, girl inherits the bag, except almost none of it is true. Because before Von, before the baby, before a single hater ever typed his name under her post, Queen Kema was already an army officer with a degree, quietly building a life the internet still refuses to believe she paid for herself. And how she actually pulled it off is a wilder story than the lie everybody decided to run with instead. Here's the part everybody conveniently skips. Kema did not come from money. By her own account, she came out of the foster system. Let that sit for a second, because it completely wrecks the fairy tale everybody's built. The story the internet tells is, poor girl meets rapper, rapper dies, girl inherits the bag. The actual story starts with a kid in foster care who had no family money, no safety net, no rich uncle, no head start of any kind. Whatever this woman was going to get in life, she was going to have to go out and drag it back home herself. And the way she chose to do that was, frankly, the least glamorous route on the entire menu. No going viral, no chasing a famous boyfriend, no waiting to get discovered. She picked school. And then, because apparently one difficult path wasn't enough, she also picked the military. That's like looking at the buffet of life and going, yeah, let me get the 2 hardest things on here and put them on the same plate. She ended up at Western Illinois University studying law enforcement justice administration with a minor in military science. Now, that military science minor was not some easy elective she took to fill a schedule gap. She went through ROTC, which for anyone who doesn't know is the college program that grinds a regular student into a commissioned military officer over the course of their entire degree. We're talking years of early morning physical training, leadership requirements, and a very real obligation waiting for you at the finish line. This is not, I took a class about the Army. This is, I signed up to become the Army. And she came out the other end commissioned as an officer. She reportedly finished her bachelor's degree at 21, which, if you've ever tried to do anything on time in your early 20s, you already know is impressive. So before King Von was a household name, before there was a baby on the way, before the first hater ever typed the words Von Money under one of her posts, Kema already had a degree and a military career rolling. The foundation was poured. The rumor about her whole life being handed to her falls apart before the man in the rumor even shows up. Quick honesty note, because we care about getting it right. Some of her older bios list her as a second lieutenant, which is the rank you get fresh out of commissioning. More recent coverage, and her own mouth in a video we'll get to, calls her a captain, which would line up with years of service and a promotion. We can't pin the exact current rank down to the decimal, so we'll just call her a commissioned army officer and keep it moving. Either way, the woman has a rank. That's more than most people in her comments can say. Alright, so now and only now does King Von enter the picture. And the way they met is, no exaggeration, one of the greatest rapper pickup lines ever documented. Kema has told this story on podcasts herself, so this is straight from her. Early on, Von pulled up on her, handed her a $2 bill, and delivered the immortal line, "All I got is $2 and a dream. Are you gonna roll with me? $2 and a dream. My brother in Chicago, that is not a down payment, that is a Groupon." But here's the part that's actually kind of sweet and then kind of hilarious. At the time, she thought it was the most romantic thing she had ever heard. She was sold, she was rolling. Fast forward a few years and a lot of life later, and she's retelling that same story with a completely different face on, admitting she full body cringes at it now, saying if she could go back and talk to her younger self, maybe $2 and a dream was not the moment to lose her mind over, which, respectfully, is the most relatable character development on earth. We have all fallen for a $2 dream at some point. Hers just happened to become a rap legend. Their relationship led to the birth of their son on August 9th, 2019. And here's a detail that tells you everything about how locked in Kema was at that point. August 9th was King Von's own birthday. According to reporting on the couple, Kema chose that delivery date on purpose, so that father and son would share the same day forever. Now, depending on your personality, you either just said, "aw," or you just said, "that is an insane level of commitment." And honestly, you're both right. That is not a casual fling move. That is a woman building an entire future around this man on purpose, with a highlighter and a calendar. But 2019 rolling into 2020 is exactly the stretch that tends to blow relationships to pieces. Because this is the era King Von's career caught fire. This is the crazy story run, the moment Von went from a Chicago name to a national one. He was signed to Only the Family, the label anchored by Lil Durk, the singles were connecting, and suddenly, the man was one of the most talked about new rappers in the country, praised as a storytelling drill artist who actually did something different. He was recording non-stop, touring, doing features, living the permanently unavailable life of a rapper who can feel the ceiling getting closer by the week. His debut album, Welcome to O Block, was days from dropping in that final stretch of 2020. After his death, the machine kept rolling, giving him the posthumous albums, What It Means to Be King in 2022, and grandson in 2023, 3 full-length projects to his name in total. And as the fame went up, the relationship with Kema went down. Because of course it did. That's the oldest story in rap. The come up giveth, and the come up taketh away. By the last chapter of Von's life, the romance had cooled, and the picture of who Von was actually with had gotten genuinely complicated, with more than one woman floating around his orbit. In fact, just about a month before he died, in October 2020, Von publicly announced he was single, reportedly a day after getting photographed with the rapper Asian Doll, one of his best-known girlfriends. So by the time the worst happened, Kema wasn't the girlfriend and she wasn't the fiancée. She was the mother of his first son, and that one distinction is about to become the center of years of chaos, because on November 6, 2020, King Von was shot and killed outside a nightclub in Atlanta. He was 26, and in a single night, Kema went from rapper's ex who shares a kid with him to mother of the 1-year-old son of a man who just became a permanent legend. That is a heavy, heavy thing, and we're going to treat that part with the weight it deserves. There's no joke here. A young man died, a little boy lost his father, and that's just sad, full stop. Now, here's where a lot of people in Kema's exact position would have done the obvious thing and turned King Von's baby mama into a full-time career. Because let's be honest, in a cold internet sense, that title is a platform. The lane was wide open. Instead, what she did next is the whole reason this video exists. But before we get to that, we have to talk about the circus that erupted around Von's legacy, because it was legendary. Kema kept getting pulled onto this stage whether she wanted to be there or not. The question that simply would not die was brutal and simple. Who was King Von actually with when he died? Asian Doll, who goes by Queen Von online, grieved him publicly like a widow, at one point buying an $85,000 custom chain made in his likeness and showing it off. $85,000 on a chain. Meanwhile, the timeline got messy fast because Asian Doll herself said she wasn't even with Von from June through October of 2020, and that they'd only started talking again right at the end of October, weeks before he was killed. And then Von's sister, Kayla B, entered the chat, and Kayla B does not miss. In January 2021, she stated flat out that her brother wasn't in a relationship with anybody before he died, that he was living his best life, doing exactly who and what he wanted. Kayla B and Asian Doll would go on to feud about this for literally years, trading absolute haymakers on Twitter well into 2025, with Kayla B eventually claiming Von never even really liked Asian Doll and had only kept her around for clout until his music took off. Asian Doll, understandably, fired all of that right back. This beef has more seasons than most Netflix shows, and walking right into the middle of all of it was Kema, holding the one card nobody else at the table had, which was Von's son. In June 2021, the whole thing got even more crowded when it came out that Von had a third child on the way, by another woman, Skylar Knight, which naturally cranked the who counts as what arguments up to 11. Kema mostly stayed out of the girlfriend versus girlfriend war, mainly because she wasn't claiming to be the girlfriend, she was claiming to be a mother. But she did not stay quiet when it touched the kids. In one 2022 flare-up, a photo that was supposed to be about Von's children turned into a back and forth between Kema and Kayla B, and Kema made her stance crystal clear, that she'd been speaking on Von's kids, that nobody was jealous of a child, and that as far as she was concerned, business would get handled and stood on for Von, and his babies would be straight. And that right there is the whole difference in how Kema operated. Everybody else was scrapping over the man's love life and his legacy and his memory. She was locked in on the kid and the paperwork. While the internet fought about who loved Von the most, Kema was quietly turning herself into a small business. Because here's the pivot. Instead of milking the drama, she went back to the exact thing that got her out of the foster home in the first place. Work, and not cute, one little side hustle work. I mean stacking income streams like a woman with a personal vendetta against free time. The centerpiece is Funhouse Collection LLC, her own e-commerce brand selling jewelry, clothing, and accessories. And she's not the paid smiling face on somebody else's company. She's the founder and owner, the actual name on the actual paperwork. On top of that, she works as an assistant paralegal, which, plot twist, lines up perfectly with that law enforcement and justice degree she got in college. So it isn't some random gig. It's literally the career her education was aimed at the entire time. Then she went and got herself licensed as a life insurance broker. Because sure, why not? Add another one. She wrote a book. She built out a whole content platform, running her own YouTube presence under the Funhouse banner with a following in the hundreds of thousands, including videos where she calmly walks people through things like her process of becoming a commissioned army officer, as one does. And through all of that, she kept her military career going too. At some point, she started describing herself accurately as a serial entrepreneur, an army officer, a business owner, a licensed life insurance broker, an author, a content creator, and in her words, most importantly, a mom. Read that list back out loud. This woman is collecting careers like they're Pokemon cards. Gotta catch them all. And not a single item on that list says King Von's estate. Every one of them is a paycheck with her own name on it, and most of them require a license, a degree, or years of grind to even qualify for. You cannot inherit a paralegal job. You cannot marry into an insurance license. She went and got those. And that's the part the "she's just spending Vaughn's money" crowd cannot process. The money isn't one big lucky lottery drop. It's a stack of unglamorous, boring, verifiable grinds layered on top of each other. E-commerce margins, plus a paralegal salary, plus insurance commissions, plus military pay, plus content money. Any one of those on its own is not a jackpot. But stack them all up, run them all at once, and add the discipline of someone who clearly does not sleep. And suddenly, you get exactly the kind of comfortable life the internet swears is impossible without a dead rapper's bank account. Which brings us, finally, to the crown jewel of the whole millionaire lifestyle, the house. In 2023, Kema bought a home, a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 3-level house, which she announced with the caption that basically defines her entire brand. From a foster home to owning my own home. She said straight up she wanted to give her son the stability and security she never had, and credited faith and grind for getting her there. And this is the exact property people picture when they imagine the millionaire baby mama living like a Dubai princess. So let's be precise, because the rumor and the reality are two very different square footages. It's a genuinely nice, spacious, multi-level home that she owns outright in her own name. It is not, by any documented account that actually exists, a gated mansion, a compound, or a palace with a moat, no matter how the comment section describes it. And that gap between the very real, very self-bought, very nice house and the imaginary castle everybody's picturing is basically the entire story of her lifestyle shrunk down into one example. The rest of what she flexes is exactly what you'd expect from a lifestyle influencer. Because, surprise, that's literally her content niche: fashion, beauty, and everyday flexing. She posts the car content, the jamming in the whip reels, the playful housewife edition skits, the fits, the trips, the graduation glow-ups. It's an aspirational feed, the same kind of feed that thousands of influencers run. And she leans all the way into it on purpose because that's the job. The Benz shows up, the outfits show up, the good life energy shows up. What does not show up anywhere a single soul can actually source it is a fleet of exotic supercars, a row of mansions, or receipts for some jaw-dropping luxury spending spree. The image is successful woman who's clearly doing great. The secret billionaire empire people invent on top of that image is a fan fiction nobody can ever actually point to. She wasn't finished cooking either. In December 2024, she completed a Master of Business Administration, an MBA, with a concentration in entrepreneurship and innovation. And the story behind that degree should honestly just end the entire debate on its own, because in the middle of grinding through that MBA program, she got hit by a drunk driver. She was hospitalized for about a week with a broken femur, needed surgery, and was staring down months of rehabilitation. And while she was laid up recovering from a shattered leg she didn't cause, she reportedly kept straight A's in her graduate program. Straight A's with a broken femur from a car crash that wasn't even her fault. You cannot inherit that. You cannot marry into that. That is just a human being who refuses to lose on principle. She finished the degree in December 2024, but chose to walk the stage in 2025. And the reason why is genuinely one of the sweetest details in this whole saga. She wanted to walk the same year her son finished kindergarten, so the two of them could share the moment. Him in his little cap and gown, her in her master's regalia. And the best part, she called this shot years in advance, tweeting back in 2019 that she wanted to graduate the same year her son did. And then she actually pulled it off. And that's not luck. That's a woman who wrote the ending first and spent 5 years making the universe catch up. So let's tally up the actual scoreboard by 2025. A bachelor's degree earned at 21, a commission in the US Army, an MBA, an e-commerce company, a paralegal career, a life insurance license, a book, a content platform, a house she bought herself, and a kid she's raising while doing every bit of that. And still, the comments kept rolling in. Absolutely certain none of it could possibly be real without Vaughn's money quietly footing the bill. And that is when Queen Kema finally decided to say something back. In the moment that turned this whole thing from a quiet comment section rumor into a full-blown viral event. In a response video that got picked up and blasted around by No Jumper in late 2025, Kema stopped being polite about it. She said she was flat out sick of people running with the, "oh, she's just spending King Von's money" narrative. And then she started reading the resume back at them like a teacher handing back a failed test. Am I not an army officer? Am I not a captain in the army? She reminded everybody she's got a master's in business, that she got her bachelor's at 21, that she just earned a graduate degree. And then she hit them with the question the entire internet had been dodging. Do y'all really think I'm living some wild, crazy, rich lifestyle? And then came the line that instantly became the whole debate in 6 words. She said she's just a baddie with a Benz. Not an heiress, not a rap widow living off a catalog. Just a woman with a nice car, a stack of degrees, and a very short fuse for being told she couldn't have earned her own life. But she didn't stop there, and this is the part that made the clip actually hit. because she named the thing sitting underneath the whole rumor. She said, people see a black woman doing well for herself and immediately want to hand the credit to somebody else, and that it irritates her to absolutely no end. And whether you agree or not, you have to admit, she said out loud the quiet thing the entire Millionaire baby mama storyline had been dancing around for years. She's been just as savage about it in other moments too, going sarcastic on the haters, basically asking, what exactly is so unbelievable here? So do y'all think I live in a castle? Is it really so extravagant that your brain can't process it? And the joke lands because, again, no, she does not live in a castle. She lives in a nice 4-bedroom house she bought with her own money. The only reason anybody finds that impossible is the assumption they walked in with. Strip the assumption away, and the shocking millionaire lifestyle expose turns into a much less scandalous story called Woman Goes to School, Gets Job, Buys House. Riveting stuff. Somebody call a documentary crew. And honestly, if you zoom all the way out, that's what this entire thing is really about. There's a default script the internet runs the second any woman shows up next to a famous rapper, especially a dead one. She's a gold digger. She's living off him. Whatever she has isn't really hers. It's a lazy story. It makes everyone repeating it feel smart, and it requires exactly zero research. Kema is basically a live science experiment, and what happens when you actually fact check that story. The degrees are real and dated. The commission is real. The businesses are registered. The house has a caption tracing it straight back to a foster home. The graduation happened the exact year she called years earlier. At every single point where the lazy version goes, must be Vaughn's money, there's a document with her name on it, sitting right there instead. It doesn't make her a saint, and it doesn't mean every flex is airtight. It just means the one specific rumor that defines her whole online existence, that she's coasting on a dead man's fame, is the one thing the receipts pretty clearly do not support. So where does that leave her now? Kema is 30, and she talks about this chapter of her life like a woman who finally got handed the keys to her own car. She said her 30s feel like her 20s, except now she's moving with intention. More experience, more brains, more money, better credit, and in her own words, a fully developed frontal lobe, which is the funniest possible way to announce you got your life together. She talks about controlling everything in her world completely, doing what she wants, when she wants, and cutting off the fake friendships and draining relationships that used to eat up her space. She runs her own schedule, her own businesses, and her own story. Her son is growing up, and she still moves through the internet permanently labeled, at least in the headlines, by a relationship that had already fizzled out years before the man in it ever passed away. And here's the honest place to land it. No bow on top, because the truth is more interesting than a clean ending anyway. There is no verified public net worth for Queen Kema, none. So anybody throwing around a specific millionaire number is straight up guessing. What is documented is the resume, the degrees, the businesses, the military career, the Benz, and the house. Whether all of that adds up to a literal millionaire lifestyle, or just a very comfortable, very self-built, very much earned one, honestly only Kema and her accountant know for sure. But the one thing the internet got flat wrong, the idea that she's nothing but King Von's baby mama, spending King Von's money, that part the receipts absolutely shut down. She was winning before she met him, she kept winning after she lost him, and she's still winning right now, whether her comment section is emotionally ready to accept it or not. So that's the real story behind King Von's baby mama and her so-called millionaire lifestyle. A foster kid who turned herself into an army officer, an MBA, a business owner, and a homeowner, and then spent years being told none of it counted because of a man she loved and lost. Drop your take in the comments. Do you think the internet will ever actually give her the credit, or is she stuck being Von's baby mama forever? And if you stuck until the end, you'll probably also want to see these videos on your screen next. Have a good one.